All right, so let's jump into this whole world of bonds. We've got a ton of resources here. I think it'll really help make sense of this whole bond thing. Honestly, it's a lot more interesting than it might seem.
Oh, definitely. You know, it's funny how many people think bonds are just like these, well,
Yeah.
just these dull and safe investments. Like they're just sitting in the corner of finance. But they're really dynamic, and they actually play a huge role in how basically everything works, from governments funding their projects to like companies, trying to grow their business.
So like for someone who's just starting out in their finance class, where do we even begin? Like, what is a bond?
So imagine a company or even like the government, they need money, like a lot of money for some new project. Instead of going to a bank, they can issue bonds. So it's like borrowing from a bunch of people all at once, including you.
So instead of one giant loan, it's like they're slicing it up and selling those slices.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And each one of those slices is a bond. When you buy a bond, you're basically lending money to that company or that government. And they promise to pay you back the original amount that you lent, which is called the principal or face value. Plus, they give you a little extra for the favor. That's the interest.
Okay, that makes sense. So the readings mentioned different types of bonds, though. What's the deal with those?
Right. So you have your basic types, like zero coupon bonds and coupon bonds. So let's start with zero coupon. Think of it like you're buying a gift certificate, but at a discount. You pay less than the face value up front. And then when it matures, you get the full value. And that difference is your profit.
So no regular payouts, you just wait and cash in at the end.
Exactly. Now, coupon bonds are a bit different. Imagine getting a little thank you payment every 6 months for just holding on to the bond. Those are coupon payments, and they're based on the bond's interest rate, which is called the coupon rate.
Oh, I definitely like the sound of those thank you payments. Now, I keep seeing these other terms, too, like maturity date, yield to maturity. Are those as complicated as they sound?
Well, they might seem a little intimidating at first, but they're actually pretty straightforward. So maturity date is simply the day the bond comes due. That's when you get your principal back. And yield to maturity, or as it's often called YTM, it's really important. It's basically the overall return that you can expect to make on your bond if you hold on to it until it matures.
So it takes into account those coupon payments.
Yeah.
And any difference between the price I paid for the bond and its face value.
Exactly. YTM is kind of like the big picture return. And here's where it gets really interesting. Bond yields, including YTM, they aren't static. They change based on what's happening in the market.
Okay, so why would they change? I thought bond interest rates were set. When the bond is issued...
Well, they are initially. But think about it. The world is constantly changing. Interest rates go up and down. Inflation, comes and goes. Even the company or the government that issued the bond, their fortunes can shift. All of these factors can influence how attractive or how risky a bond seems to investors.
So it's not like putting money in a savings account where you know exactly what interest rate you'll get. There's a lot more to keep track of.
Exactly. And there's this key concept to keep in mind. When interest rates rise, bond prices tend to fall. And vice versa. It's like a seesaw. They move in opposite directions.
Okay, that makes sense. If interest rates are climbing, who wants to be stuck with a bond offering a lower return?
Right. You'd be missing out on better opportunities. Now let's kind of unpack what drives those bond yields in a little more detail, because that's where understanding risk comes in.
Okay.
Really comes into play.
So we've got this like seesaw thing between bond prices and interest rates. But what are the underlying factors that actually drive bond yields? Like, where do we even begin with that?
Well, to understand that, we need to start with this idea of the risk-free rate. Think of it like this. It's the return that you can expect from an investment, where there's basically zero chance of you losing your money.
It's just like the safest bet out there. Like, what would even be a good example of that?
Okay, so a perfect example would be a short-term U.S. Treasury bond. They're backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, which basically means that they're seen as incredibly safe. Investors are pretty confident they'll get their money back.
Got it. So that's like our baseline, our starting point.
Yeah.
But not all bonds are risk-free, are they?
Oh, absolutely not. And that's where this idea of a risk premium comes in. It's that extra return that investors demand for taking on more risk.
Makes sense. Higher reward, but also a higher chance of things not going as planned.
Exactly. And when it comes to bonds, there are really two main types of risks to think about. Interest rate risk and then default risk. Let's start with interest rate risk. It's basically all about the chance that rising interest rates will make your bond less valuable. Remember that seesaw we were talking about?
Yeah, interest rates up, bond prices down. But how do we even measure how sensitive a certain bond is
Right.
to these interest rate changes.
Well, that's where duration comes in. It's basically a way to put a number on how long it takes to get your money back from a bond, taking
Right.
into account both the maturity date and those coupon payments we talked about. So think of it like this. A long-term bond with tiny coupon payments would be a lot more sensitive to interest rate swings than a short-term bond with big coupon payments.
So a 30-year bond with a super low coupon rate, that'd be pretty high on the interest rate risk scale.
You got it. It's got a longer duration, which means there's a lot more time for those interest rates to potentially move against you. Now, that other big risk is default risk. And this one's especially important. When we're talking about corporate bonds,
Default risk. That sounds kind of scary. Is it kind of like lending money to a friend who always forgets to pay you back?
yeah, that's actually a really good analogy. Default risk is all about that possibility that the issuer of the bond, so the company or the government, might not be able to pay back the principal or the interest. You know what they owe.
Yikes. So how do investors even figure out how risky a bond is in terms of default?
Well, thankfully, there are these credit rating agencies like Standard & Poor's, Moody's, Fitch. They do all the hard work. They analyze companies and governments and give them these credit ratings that basically act like report cards.
So a AAA rating would be like getting straight A's, super reliable.
Exactly. The higher the credit rating, the lower the default risk. And this ties into another super important idea, the credit spread. It's basically the difference in yield between a corporate bond and a treasury bond with the same maturity date.
Okay, I'm following. So if a corporate bond has a much higher yield than a similar treasury bond, that's probably a sign that investors see it as risky.
Exactly. That higher yield is basically there to make up for investors taking on that extra default risk. And this brings us to a really crucial point. For anyone who's investing in bonds, especially for someone new to all this, chasing high yields can be pretty dangerous.
Really? Why is that? High yields sound pretty good.
I know, right? Those big numbers can be super tempting. But remember, a high yield doesn't automatically mean that you'll actually earn that much. High yield bonds, they're often called junk bonds. They carry a way higher risk of default.
So it's like that saying, if it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is. You could end up losing a big chunk of your money if that issuer can't actually make those payments. That's why it's so important to do your research and look beyond just the yield. You need to really look at the issuer's financial health before you go jumping into that high yield territory.
Don't just get blinded by those big returns. That's good advice. But what actually happens? What if the worst case scenario happens and a company or the government defaults on their bond?
Well, default is a pretty serious situation. It means the issuer just can't make those interest payments or repay the principal. When the bond actually matures, it's a big problem for bondholders who may not even get all of their money back.
So it's not even just about missing out on potential returns. You could actually lose money that you put in.
That's right. It really shows how important it is to understand risk and do your homework before you invest in any bond, especially those with higher yields. Now, shifting gears a little bit, the readings also mention this thing called the Treasury yield curve. What's so special about that?
Yeah, what is that?
The Treasury yield curve is a really fascinating tool. It basically just plots the yields of U.S. Treasury bonds across different maturities, from short-term to long-term. By looking at the shape of that curve, we can actually get some insights into what the market thinks about future interest rates and even the overall health of the economy.
So it's like a crystal ball for the economy.
You could say that. A normal yield curve usually slopes upwards, meaning longer-term bonds have those higher yields because they carry more interest rate risk. But sometimes you get a flat yield curve, or even an inverted one, where short-term yields are actually higher than long-term yields.
An inverted yield curve, like it's upside down. What does that even tell us?
Well, an inverted yield curve can be a sign of economic uncertainty, or that the market expects interest rates to go down in the future. Historically, an inverted yield curve has sometimes been like a warning sign before recessions.
Wow. That's some powerful stuff. So paying attention to the shape of that curve can actually give us clues about what might be coming next in the economy.
Exactly. It's a really valuable tool for investors and economists. It helps us understand what the market is thinking and, make better decisions.
That's amazing, how much information you can get from that yield curve. Who knew bonds could tell us so much about the economy?
I know, right? A lot of people see them as just these, quiet and predictable investments, but they really do hold a lot of clues about what's happening in the markets and what might be coming next.
When I first started learning about finance, I thought bonds were just Oh,
Yeah.
I know. Those boring, safe investments. For like super conservative people.
Yeah, that's a pretty common misconception. They definitely have their place in a balanced portfolio. And they can be good for people who don't like risk that much. But as we've seen, they have their own, complexities and risks.
For sure. All this stuff about interest rate risk, default risk, and the yield curve. It really shows you that. There's more to bonds than you might think.
Yeah.
So for someone taking their first finance class, like a lot of our listeners out there, what are the big takeaways? Like what should they really focus on?
Well, first off, I'd say understanding those fundamental mechanics of how bonds actually work. Knowing about the different types of bonds, those key terms like maturity date and yield to maturity, and all the different things that can influence a bond's price and its yield. That's like your foundation.
It's like learning the rules of the game. Before you start playing, you can't make good decisions
Yeah.
if you don't know the basics.
Exactly. And just as important is understanding risk. So knowing how to look at interest rate risk, default risk, and how those risks can really impact your potential returns. It's super important for anyone investing in bonds.
Especially if you see those high-yield bonds. They can be really tempting, but you got to weigh that against the potential risks.
Definitely. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are a ton of resources out there to help you learn more about bonds. Textbooks, articles, even financial advisors who can give you personalized advice.
This whole deep dive has really opened up my eyes to bonds. It's a lot to take in, but it's really interesting stuff.
It really is. And keep this in mind, even if you aren't planning on becoming a bond trader, understanding this stuff can help you make smarter financial decisions throughout your whole life.
So to wrap things up, what's one last thought for our listeners as they're, exploring this whole world of finance?
I would say always be curious. The world of finance is always changing. There's always more to learn. Don't be afraid to ask questions, get different perspectives, and just keep learning.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.